Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Liana and today I'm going to present on two aspects. First, 19th centuries and 20th centuries teaching. So first of all, before I proceed with the 19th centuries and 20th centuries, let's look at these things. Method. Method can be divided into three aspects. The first one, approach. The second one, design. The third one, procedure. This is just the same as what Doctor had mentioned before, but I just want to recap again so that you can, have a fresh memory of these things. So in method, approach. What is approach? People say about approach, this approach, that approach. Approach is a theory. It's a theory of language, native speaker, and it's also a theory of language learning. Second, design. Before you do your teaching, before you teach your students, you have to do a lesson plan. So this lesson plan includes all the designs. First, general and specific objectives. What are the objectives of teaching? Second, syllable model. How you want to model your teaching? Third, types of learning and teaching activities. What are the activities that you want to do in your class to your students? And then you will see the learner's roles, teacher's roles, and also the materials, the roles of materials that you bring in class. There must be reason why you bring this and why you do this and why the students must listen to you. Okay? And then lastly, procedure. Procedure is the classroom techniques. It's the techniques, practices and behaviors observed when the method is used. Okay, so now let's look at the 19th century language teaching. So at first, in the beginning, the ancient days before, they focus on classical method. Classical method is something that is very surface, where it focuses on grammatical rules. Grammatical rules, students have to memorize all the words, and then vocabs of various declensions and conjugation, translation of text, doing written exercises. At this point of time, they learn. Languages were not being taught to learn. Languages were not being taught to learn. Oral communication, that means they learn not to communicate. They learn to read, to be a scholar, to gain reading proficiency. Okay, do you understand what I mean? Okay, so let's move to the second one, and then they move to grammar translation method. These are the elements that I found in the second edition of the textbook. I look at 3 editions of textbook. The second edition, the 4th edition, and also the 5th edition of textbooks. And this is the result that I get. First, the major characteristics of grammar. So grammar taught in the mother tongue. They speak in the mother tongue. For example, my first language is Malay. So if I'm going to teach English, I'm going to use my mother tongue to teach English. For example, book, buku, drink, minum, eat, makan, play, main. So, okay, let's repeat again. Eat, makan, and something like that. You know, you drill in class. So there is little use of second language. And the second, much vocabs taught in the form of lists. The teacher lists all the vocabs and all the translation. Then they memorize. So they drills, okay? And then they also elaborate explanations of the details of grammar. And then the text treated as exercises in grammatical analysis. For example, the text sounds like this. Last night, Ali went to school by bus. So last night happened yesterday. So it's past tense. So you should use past tense verb in your text, in your writing. So that's how they analyze the text by using grammar translation method. And then they do drillings and exercises and no attention to pronunciation. Somehow this method has been criticized by Richards and Rogers 2001. They say it is remembered with distaste by thousands of school learners for whom foreign language teaching meant a tedious experience of memorizing endless lists of unusable grammar rules and vocabulary and attempting to produce perfect translations of stilted or literacy prose. That's what happened in 19th century. Now let's move to the 20th centuries. So in 20th centuries, in 1940s and 1950s, they focus on audiolingual method, ALM. So in audiolingual method, they focus on oral productions. That means the communication. oral production drills borrowed tenets from its preceders. So the material that used are presented in dialogue. And then second, dependence of mimicry, memorization of phrases. Number 3, structures are sequenced by means of contrastive analysis and thought at one time. And then use repetitive drills, just like what Doctor said before. For example, Ali is going to school, Abu is going to school, she is going to school, Ahmad is going to school. So they use drillings in order to teach the language. So the objective of audiolingual method is to master the native speaker. If teacher use audiolingual, that means the teacher wants the students to master the native speaker speaking ability. Like Mahbubeh, she told me in her country she used to use this method, audiolingual method. And then the learner roles is to produce correct response. If the learner cannot produce correct response, that means audiolingual method is not successful in the class. And the teacher roles is as a central or active teacher dominated. That means the teacher control the classes. If the teachers or the teacher is not able to control the class, the language is failing. And then control direction and pace. That is for audiolingual. And then for the direct method, it's focus more on naturalistic. So it's exclusive in target language. They use target language and daily vocabulary and sentences taught, grammar taught inductively, means that from the very basic to the wide area of language. And then teaching points were taught through modeling and practice. They model, the teacher model, the students practice. The concrete verbs, the concrete vocabulary will be teaching through demonstration. The abstract vocabulary will be teaching by associated with the ideas. Speech and listening were taught, correct pronunciation and grammar. That's direct method. And the last one in 20th century is the communicative language teaching. The theory of language is that language, in this method, language is a system for the expression of meaning. That means if they express the language, they say something, people can make sense, then that is language, you know? Okay, so the theory of learning, all the activities that are done in the class involving real communication, carrying meaningful tasks, using language which is meaningful to the learner to promote learning. And then the objectives of using this kind of method needs learner to functional skills, and the linguistic objectives. It's focused on two things, functional skills and also the linguistic objectives. The activity types of activities done in this kind of method are engaged in communication, for example, information sharing, negotiation of meaning, and interaction. The learner's role, if you use this method, learners are as negotiator, interactor, and they are giving and taking in the learning process. And lastly, the teacher as a facilitator, analyzer, counselor, and process manager. I think that's all from us. We cover all the aspects in the chapter 1 in your book.
Now you don't have to go back and read anymore. It's all there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
good.
specific.
Actually, you covered a lot of chapter 1. Hello, do you know they're all in chapter 1?
Yes.